taking time out of your day to hop onto our 2026 Cybersecurity Predictions webinar. This is one of my favorite ones that we do every year. Corey and I usually tag team it together, and this year we're also bringing in Adam to join us and have a fun little debate around this. But real quick, I'm Marc Laliberte. I'm the Director of Security Operations at WatchGuard, and I'll let Corey and Adam introduce themselves too.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Corey. I'm the CSO here at WatchGuard Technologies, longtime WatchGuardian nerd, and we love talking about security here. Off to Adam.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm Adam, Field CTO at WatchGuard as well. I've been here about a year now, so this is almost like my year interview as well.
For those that haven't seen Adam on previous webinars, I'd like to say he's been a long-time CISO CTO of another company before he joined WatchGuard. So it's awesome to have him as part of our Loyal Thought leadership group.
Thank you.
It is awesome to have him. So real quick for our agenda today, we're going to start by just quickly going through why we do these cybersecurity predictions. After that, we will jump into our actual predictions, and we've got a fun new format this time. Instead of walking through them, we'll have a little bit of a debate, including through the polling system on here, your ability to vote on who you think is correct in this little debate for each prediction. And then we'll end with any questions and answers that you guys have. But like Liz mentioned, you can use the questions or the chat all throughout this. We'll be monitoring it. And we'll try to address anything that pops in just as we're going. And anything we miss, we'll get to at the end. But to get us started, Corey, do you want to go ahead and jump in and walk through why we do these predictions?
Sure. Basically, marketing. No, I'm kidding. I actually think the predictions are a very practical thing and a useful thing. As you probably know, if you follow any tech industry, it's kind of a tradition at the end of the year to kind of do a prediction for whatever vertical of a tech industry you're in. And it really is less about the actual predictions, in my opinion, and more about the trends, right? As cybersecurity experts, we need to know what the threat actors, the adversary out there is doing so that we can adjust our defenses to the latest things. And to me, the predictions are just a fun way to talk about real practical cybersecurity trends that you should think about so that you can adjust your defense and your strategy while you're dealing with this. We do take the predictions seriously. We do try to get them right. Despite sometimes making very bold predictions. But what's guaranteed, whether or not any of these predictions hit, when we start debating them, whether or not you think you side with the person that thinks the prediction is good or bad, the trends we're going to be talking about, that is the really important stuff. And that is the stuff you can use to start to plan your security strategies and defenses and other things in 2026.
And one thing with our predictions that we do a little bit differently than most other folks you may get predictions from is we take it one step further, and at the end of the year, we actually grade ourselves on how well we did over the course of the year. For those that listen to our podcast, the 443 Security Simplified, I think it was 2 episodes ago, we went through and graded ourselves for our 2025 predictions throughout the course of that year. We grade ourselves on a bit of an interesting grading system of win, meaning, yeah, we 100% nailed it. Fail, meaning, no, totally missed the mark. Or meh, meaning we may have gotten like the spirit of the prediction while missing a few of the final bullet points in it. And this last year we did, well, I mean, not great if you're trying to get a straight A's in school at 58%.
My mom would kick me out of the house, man. That would not be acceptable to my family.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
Speaking from experience, my mom was sometimes okay with that. She was just glad I was attending. It's not always that bad though. In fact, in 2024, we got a pretty solid B+, or I guess B, and they're at 80%. But the big thing is, like, even if the predictions don't hit that year, they're still backed by the actual trends that matter. And that is the whole reason that we're here to discuss our security predictions. So, Corey, you want to introduce our new format for this year?
Yeah. I mean, normally, if you've joined this webinar, you've seen me and Mark basically just share the predictions and talk about our reasoning why and maybe the trends. But this year, we thought we would be fun. And Adam, that guy over there, screw him. Adam and I are going to take each prediction and kind of fight it out. The reality is, though, ignore the man behind the curtain. This is a little bit staged. All three of us were part of making these predictions. The truth is we largely agree on them, and we kind of had to roll the dice to pick which one we would take the contrarian view, because I think all of us kind of think there's a lot of signs that this could be true, but we like playing the devil's advocate, and we actually think it's a good thing to do, because by taking both sides of these predictions, you'll be able to really explore the trend, like the trends that might support it, as well as other trends that could support other cybersecurity or threat-related things. So we will be debating. Marc will share every prediction. Then me and Adam will talk about them. I think maybe we'll start with the contrarian view to go against what Marc said, and then the person supporting Marc will talk about them a bit more, and then we'll pull up a poll to see what you think, if which side convinced you. So just a fun way to really explore the trends in detail.
Yep. So please participate. When you see the poll pop up to pick your winner for that debate, go ahead and enter it, and we will see who the better debater is by the end of this webinar. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our 2026 cybersecurity predictions. And we'll start with the first one, which is titled Crypto-Ransomware Will Go Extinct, which is following a bit of a trend around changes we've been seeing in traditional crypto ransomware attacks, the ones that will lock up your data and then demand an extortion in order to give you that decryption key to get access back to your data. Where we've done quite a bit better at having good business continuity and disaster recovery processes to gain access back to our data if it gets encrypted, which means attackers have kind of changed the game, and they're moving a bit further away from traditional encryption and into other extortion methods. So our prediction was the bold one of encryption for crypto ransomware will no longer pay off and it will go away. So let's go ahead and start the fight on this one. And who wants to go first?
A contrarian. Why do you think that's wrong, Adam?
I'll go first. So, I mean, let's break this out into parts. The first thing is extinct means no recorded cases worldwide, right? We see, what, hundreds of cases every day. It's trending almost where we got a couple weeks till the end of the year. So I feel like this is going to be a pretty easy miss if you just take it based on its words, that the idea of extinction means we're never going to see a crypto ransomware attack anywhere in the field ever again. But let's talk about the weight of saying, well, it's going to maybe get surpassed by data loss and just extorting you with the data, as opposed to having to actually launch some crypto library against your stack and hold your systems down to get you to pay. If you look at the ransomware negotiations, right, and I look at taking data away, that's the more valuable thing to abuse somebody with. These guys are digital loan sharks, right? So the idea is, if I can hold even 20% of the data you maybe didn't back up hostage and say, oh, I'm going to leak it, I'm going to tattle to the regulators, but you also need this critical 20% back that you didn't back up, the likelihood of payment just goes up. And if you go look through the forums, dark web, whatever, and take a gander at the negotiations back and forth, the ones that actually do pay, it's usually because they can't get the data back, right? And so the idea behind the cryptography is that's the only way that that's going to happen, right? Even with good immutable backups, you name it, Rubrik, VM, Commvault, doesn't matter who, right? Block level, immutable, write once storage. Yeah, you've got it over there. It's in a pretty safe place. You probably didn't put it all over there. And taking it away from them is really what makes the extortion very valuable. The other thing is, I think for most people, the part of this prediction is to say, well, it's just so much easier to just take the data. It's a lot harder for people to actually, identify an illegitimate copy of data somewhere else, that then they can go and say, oh, okay, well, I know that was a bad guy if it was a legitimate account to a legitimate app and a legitimate drive. It's low and slow. We've seen a million different versions of this where the data goes out the door. And so, yes, I think there's going to be a lot more, attacks that rely on constantly feeding back a lot of the data they took. I don't think the data theft or having the data in the possession of the attacker is not going to be the dominant thing they do first, but the crypto takes it away from the victim. And that's, I think, an extortion tactic that you just won't see. Definitely not go to zero, but I don't even think is going to go all the way down, right? There's so much tech debt for this to still happen on many systems. People are still hybrid IT. This is just going to keep lasting. And I think we will see cases. This is my super contradiction here. We will not only see cases on the first day of the year, we will see them up to and including the last day of the year. We'll still see crypto ransomware cases. Mic drop.
I don't know, man. So let's start with that. You actually said one thing. They are taking the data, and it's because they've proven that now that people can back up, having that data and the things they can do with compliance by actually leaking that to the SEC or the GDPR is as big teeth as actually messing up your business by temporarily removing the data. So just looking at like some stats, Coveware shows a steady decline in ransomware using data encryption. It's dropped from like 73% in 2020 to 42% in 2023. So we have stats showing that encryption is not being used as much. We both agree, by the way, ransomware, you're going to see ransomware day one of 2026. But other than existing ransom, like there's going to be a period, of course, where there's, you know, old versions of Lockbit and all the other, QLin, however you pronounce that, they're going to be around and they already encrypt. So those will still happen, but they're really going to be trickling to nothing. And we've seen the groups change. You know, I don't know if we pronounce it Alpha or AlphaV, but they're a financial targeting group that have been using ransomware to steal data and specifically, as you said yourself, rat you out to regulation. That's the that's the new extortion. Forget the double. You don't have to worry about your data's encrypted and you're locked up. I'm going to rat you out so you get a big fine. And on top of that, they have the triple extortion, or the second level, where if any of your data has customer information, they can go directly to your customer and not only kind of, you know, extort them, but in the result is also embarrass the heck out of you because you're the organization they got the data from. And you talk about backups. I think one of the things, Mark, you know, like why we drive this prediction is backup has gotten better. If there's a silver lining in ransomware, in 2013, when CryptoWall came out, we sucked as an industry as backing up. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I make backups, sure. No, ransomware proved no one did. But this has forced us to have a backup renaissance over the last 3 years. And it's not just, you know, yes, ransomware did go after backups too, but that's why we now have, you know, 332 backups where we have multiple copies. There's easy cloud services that are harder for attackers to get to. There's offline backups. So I definitely think the data is the most important thing. And hackers are lazy. Hackers are like any freaking, you know, company. Why or person? Why am I going to waste time maintaining all this cryptography stuff as it gets less and less valuable to me? So maybe extinct. Oh, you definitely can come back. You can come back. But, I agree. Extinct is a overstatement, but it's going to go to pretty much negligible and unimportant. Go ahead.
Okay, if you go first, you get one counter. We'll do that. So, okay, the counter here, if you're going from 70% to 40%, the stats, though, I think was cherry picked. If you cherry pick that stat, say they're going away. 70 to 40, if you count down just linearly, it's not going to go to zero, right? Obviously, it's not even going to get close. But if you say, okay, well, let's look at Alpha V, they go scorched earth at the end of the extortion, after encrypt. They're some of the most talented programmers out there. They're one of the worst when it comes to encrypting. They can break into firewalls, they can pivot, they can deploy some beautiful ransomware under VMware, they can do it on switches. I've seen them do it. But if you go over to the times where they leak it to the regulator or on the dark web or whatever, it's scorched earth. It's because they ran the clock and they go, I'm serious, you didn't take me serious, I'll let this stuff go. And you know, so
good psychology.
The times they got paid, the value that it is for them to get paid, the reason they're still going to study crypto binaries for the rest of their lives is because I think that's what the times that people actually shell out the Bitcoin is when they can't get the data or the systems back. They don't really care once a day. And you also lose your leverage. Keep in mind, it's scorched earth because they know you lose your leverage. You let one customer know that you were breached, the whole pay me in secret thing, that just goes away. So I feel like we could shut this down. I hope it goes away. I think we all hope it goes away. I think data loss is going to be more prevalent.
Here's the one takeaway: whether the extension part goes away, ransomware won't. So we still will have to deal with not getting ransomware no matter what.
Yep. I just realized I have a mute button too, so maybe I'm going to start timing you guys also, just to make sure we have. So either way, we kicked off the poll. and it's been running for 2 minutes, and it was a resounding 91% to no. And so for my own vote on this one, and this one's a bit challenging because this was actually, I think, one of the predictions I pitched as well. I think when I think of end of next year, we're probably going to end up
I made this prediction to I pitched it
as a meh, because I don't think we'll see it go extinct, but I think it's going to be like functionally close to that, with still a few straggler cases. So
I will say the one thing, Adam, vote meh.
I'm gonna have to vote no on this one as well, even though I still fundamentally agree with the trends and the prediction.
Knowing how it'd argue both ways, I would have gone with Adam too, because the one thing I would, if you already have encryption, why take away one stick? Keep all 3 sticks. You don't need to take one away if it's already there.
Max leverage.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, that was fun. All right, let's move on to the next one. And for prediction number 2, this is all around the open source software supply chain, where the prediction is open source repositories and package indices are going to have to turn to artificial intelligence and AI-powered security operations centers to defend against many of the attacks that we're seeing. For those that have been living under a rock for the last 3.5 months, there have been significant waves of open source software attacks targeting popular packages with millions of weekly downloads. You may have heard of the Shai-Hulud worm, which was a self-propagating open source software attack that would spread across developers using really common packages. And this is just the latest in years of trends of threat actors targeting open source software. So our prediction was this is a losing battle for package index maintainers, for open source software repositories like GitHub and GitLab, where they're trying to play whack-a-mole right now, and instead they'll need a fundamental shift in how they protect these packages. So I think for this one, when it comes to the fight, Corey, are you going first?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to jump on these crazy fancy AI tools. Like, I agree with the problem. They need to fix something because they've had really Trojan packages. But first of all, think about who these maintainers traditionally are. There's organizations like PyPy, which is being attacked many times. That's run by Python Software Foundation, which is a completely nonprofit organization, as is normal with open source. Often open source might be a small maintainer. These repositories are a little different, but it's purely nonprofit, which means they don't have a lot of money. NPM might be a little different. It actually started the same way, but I believe GitHub and Microsoft invested in them because they realized the importance of NPM. But it originated as an open source initiative, which to me, I love open source, but it does not tend to have a lot of financial resource to really throw at things. So we're talking about using AI to help maintain things. AI is complex. It can be cost prohibitive right now. It takes a lot of GPU and power stuff. So right away, just them diving into AI as kind of these open source maintainers is hard. On top of that, these are really important repositories, right? And every product out there, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but you have a network or IoT device, most of the time it's probably running some sort of subset of Linux, and they all rely on the packages that, you know, Python scripts and stuff that these repositories maintain. If you have AI kind of trying to do security to filter bad stuff, and we already know AI can hallucinate and it has false positives, and you mess up a legitimate library that's important, that's going to cause a big distraction. It will create a backlash among the developer community, and it could even trigger things like AI censorship. So I think it's going to be hard to use AI without human intervention. We all know AI is getting better, so maybe this prediction might come true in a few more years as costs go down and we worry less about hallucinations and stuff. But I think it's going to be really hard at first because implementing these systems is super, you know, costly and complex. And we don't really have true proof for this particular problem that an AI system can detect these novel new attack techniques at scale. The final thing is we're not even talking about the vulnerabilities that AI itself can introduce as new attack surface. You know, AI is a great thing for defense, But in the defense case, there's adversarial AI that can maybe help you find tricks to get past AI-based defense. And just depending on all kinds of technical complexity of how the AI system works, there are potentially weaknesses there that it's such a novel system that maybe the attackers will use the AI's own weakness to start infecting libraries.
Awesome. Adam?
Okay, so cache, they don't have cache, AI is not ready, and the third one was they don't know how to do
hack
it.
the AI anyway.
AI has vulnerabilities itself.
Okay. No, I cut the three areas. First of all, who has more money than Monopoly Microsoft, owner of GitHub, to be the sponsor for a new PyPI NPM?
Are they investing in an open source?
They have a little slash OSS, they say they do, right? And they're the ones funding this. But so I'll give you a little personal story. So back in the day, I had to write something with Node, and I needed to load a DLL. I needed to load a program to the foreign function interface, okay? The maintainer of this was some super cool dude, spacers, surfed, half the time some code god, okay? In order to actually write through the forums to get a hold of this guy and tell him what I needed him to modify in the package, I needed to basically assert myself as reasonable enough to even listen to. But this guy had no time for this, right? Eventually, whatever, he agrees that there was some memory issue and he could fix it, and I told him where, and he fixed it and he published it, and that was it, right? That was the whole way of getting a package updated and into Node, right? And so obviously if there's like 2 million packages in Node, right, 500,000 in PyPI, if you think about just how many there are, and there's maybe like anywhere from 10,000 to 160,000 of these sort of aloof, sort of know-it-all guys that maintain these packages, obviously they're not doing any code check other than like, is your code worthy of being put into the package? They're not looking for a lot of the stuff that gets uploaded. There's hundreds of thousands of packages that get uploaded here every day. So the truth is, we know people aren't going to solve it. We can agree on the problem, right? There's absolutely no money in the volunteer organization to solve this. There's definitely not enough human capital to go through and look at every line of source code for some dumb package that does the same thing as another package, right? And third, the idea is that whatever they're hosting it on, whatever the package distribution system is, it's obviously got no CI/CD code checks for this to actually work in production to stop all the little, subtle things like domain parking. What were the three things I had, like with that Shai Hulud thing? It was like a couple of misnamed domains,
slightly misnamed. Some were able to take over the library. Yeah.
Some pretty, I want to say, obvious stuff that if you had, let's say, package behavior, code check-ins between them and said, okay, get the repository history, see how different this package is, AI could do it. And I'll say this, AI is great right now at one job. The best job it's good at is programming. It is the best source code developer. It is a great debugger. Is it awesome CI/CD intercepts to get this done? So if we're already saying at the hyperscalers, hey, we're replacing a massive amount of our workforce here with a bunch of developers because we've got AI writing the code, then if AI is already writing the code, it should QA the code. And if it's QAing the code, it should QA the packages. So I feel like Microsoft has the money to do this. They've certainly stopped hiring, developers and created a lot of profit. This is where it should go. Microsoft is into safety because we all don't trust your AI generated source code, even less than we trust the packages that are uploaded to these open source libraries. So I feel like this has to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'll tell you what will happen to the packages that don't get secure enough. They're not going to get included. We took Node out of our stack, right? Because A, there wasn't enough people who knew how to program asynchronous code. And B, it was an open source package. The second we could afford to move it out, we moved it out, right? So even here, the concept is that unless you actually have safety, if these open source libraries become a massive vector, they're just going to get thrown out. The corporate policy is going to say, get rid of this. So this has to happen next year, or I feel like people aren't going to bother. The people that are still going to bother programming, they're not going to bother with these packages.
I don't know, man. I don't think every job is done with a hammer. Meaning that you yourself mentioned how basic some of these Trojan, like domain parking, pretty simple thing. Getting a name that's close to a package, that's not superly complex. I don't need to throw a very expensive AI system to do that at scale. There was automation that helped with these huge solutions that didn't require AI and huge machine learning models. Because of their lack of money, it might be simple enough to fix without throwing AI at it.
I don't get the counter. right? That's it. One counter.
No, you do not. That is it. Now,
Okay.
game over for time's sake. And ending the poll, and it looks like around 78% thinks that this one will be true. And when it comes to my vote, so I think this is absolutely going to be true because of one specific caveat, where our prediction is they're going to turn to artificial intelligence. Our prediction is not they're going to turn to artificial intelligence and implement it well. And so I think we'll see a lot of attempts to implement like AI-powered tools to try and defend against some of these, specifically on the ones that do get a bit of Mama Microsoft's money. But maybe it won't necessarily make all the defenses that we think it's going to across the entire ecosystem. So I think Corey is correct in a lot of his counterpoints, but I don't think it's going to stop anyone from actually trying to implement AI in here. Awesome. All right, chugging along. Time is looking good. Let's go to prediction number 3. This is the Cyber Resilience Act in the European Union, with the mandates that come into effect next year are going to finally spark secure by design principles with software vendors. So real quick backstory, the Cyber Resilience Act is a new regulation that comes at least partially into full force starting next year, with a couple of key provisions that will require software vendors like WatchGuard to report vulnerabilities that are being actively exploited and security incidents that could meaningfully affect the security of the software that they sell, to report those within 24 hours to the regulating body. And while this is probably going to cause quite a bit of chaos to start with, we predict that this will finally be that force that triggers software manufacturers to truly adopt the secure by design and secure by default principles that the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and the EU and other organizations have been pushing so hard for the last like 3 years. So for this one, I think Adam, do you want to start us off?
I'm going bad, right?
You are going
Okay.
bad.
I'm going bad. Okay, so the most jaded view of this. Okay, let's start right off the top. First of all, this is yet another regulation that's just based on building something that's a little bit too narrow for people to climb through so that the Treasury can collect a lot of money across the EU. Okay, it's GDPR, it's NIS2, this is just another version of that, right? Set up something unrealistic so that a bunch of big tech people fail, and then basically fine them, in the billions of dollars, so you get a nice big payday. That's number one. I think that's what it's for. Number two, let's go through the stats of why this is dumb regulation in the first place, because it's unimplementable, right? If you take 75 million IT people, 5.5 million of them in cybersecurity, and a few of those, if you close their eyes, and Mark, you know these people, that can actually find a vulnerability in 10,000 lines of source code, that can get that needle out of the haystack and bring it to our attention. And then we build a patch quietly. Hopefully we can push that to everything before an exploit actually happens in the wild, right? We know very few people out of that, ecosystem that can even do that, right? And then when we publish it, it takes on average 55 days for companies to go and patch their systems. So you're saying you want a sliding window of the 100 patches we already know are known vulnerabilities out in the wild, and then somehow monitor systems to find out if they're actively being exploited, right? Which, let's take a system that could be exploited in the field, the firewall. What are the hundreds of thousands of devices we now have to monitor with a rolling window of 100 days of vulnerabilities? And then we have to then do some attribution. You take the vulnerability, the exploit, you got to have the team in here, us, figure out whether this is an active exploit so that we know if we have to do it. We have to do that in 24 hours, 24 hours. Or we face a 2% revenue fine or 10 million euros, whatever's greater. I mean, come on, man. Like, it just, to me, it's not going to lead to more secure code. It's going to lead to a lot more fines that go to the EU if they start enforcing this at scale. And I think that it's not going to be something that improves the velocity of secure by design, because I think we're going to have more vulnerabilities next year, not less, thanks to AI finding them faster than people. And I think even with AI on our side, we're probably not going to get to the point where disclosure or some kind of automation on patching is going to get to the point where we're doing this at scale, which is why I think we're, WatchGuard, going to be in a growth industry for the next 5 years, because we have to get between the application and the bad guy, because you can't fix it. So I don't think this is going to go anywhere but the pockets of EU regulators.
That is a cynical view. Corey, your turn.
By the way, I agree that all of the threat landscape means that WatchGuard and security is going to be very relevant for a long time. So starting with that, like right away, you mentioned how how do you find, how's that one super sophisticated dude find a vulnerability? It takes time, let alone patch it. You answered your own question with AI on both sides. You know, we both know about DARPA's grand cybersecurity challenge. AI finds 0-day very quickly, and AI patches 0-day very quickly. Literally, you can watch it on a stage with big servers. So I actually think it might be possible to do that in 24 hours. And this isn't just about the vulnerabilities, but this is about security incidents the company has too. Really, the main point here is GDPR worked. You can complain about it all the time and say the Treasury is getting money, but many businesses around the world spent probably hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars, even when they're not in the EU, to make sure they're following GDPR, because it's had big fines, it has changed privacy, and frankly, the US should be ashamed to be behind on being a voice in cybersecurity. So to me, this is just taking secure design principles as the new topic that they're going to solve in the same way that GDP really helped the privacy of the consumer. And on top of that, why do we need this? The actual people using products want it. You know, right now, Gartner predicts that 60% of organizations will use cybersecurity risk as a primary determinant in picking third-party partners and picking products and services. You know, they have been bitten so many times by digital or software supply chain attacks, by, you know, I'm not going to remind people of big things, but big IT tools that have been booby-trapped and that were used widely, and bam, they got hit by one of these vulnerabilities. So the actual consumers out there, the people running these products, want secure design. So I think the CRA will change and put some liability on vendors to do this. We both agree there's going to be disruption, you know, as people release regulations, whether they're government or PCI, they get adjusted to see how well they do. But it's clear to me that CRA is just going to be like GDPR, and it will successfully improve secure coding and better software. By the way, just know also too that there's already statistics and reports from the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity that say that 70% of software vendors are going to meet these standards or are trying to.
Do I get a
It doesn't
counter?
apply 30% or not.
Of
But
course,
yeah,
you can
60
always-
seconds. Go ahead, Adam.
60 seconds counter. Okay, first of all, rose-colored, again, glasses from the EU, who stands to benefit these regulators from cashing in on this, number one. Number two, I've been monitoring people do patches in every environment with MDR forever, right? And I will tell you that they do not patch, they do not set auto updates, they do not set auto patching because it is dangerous. When you publish a new patch to an application, the N-1 ITIL guys will tell you, do not do that, you're going to break stuff. So even when we have a SharePoint vulnerability and we're screaming it from the hilltops that they have to patch, and we have a button they can press that just does it and reboots, and you got the application fixed, they don't do it for the weekend, and that exploit window shows up and everybody gets screwed, and we have to report it within 24 hours. It just, to me, you're setting up, even with all the automation in the world that mostly already exists for the vulnerabilities we know are out there, deploying it, getting it out there, and then us monitoring it to tell the EU what's going on, and that tiny little window, or we
You
get
don't
fined.
have to do that in 24 hours. You just have to tell them you have an incident, and they take the report privately. They don't even tell the world. You're just telling the organization you can patch when you want to
more
patch.
intented to hear you out than to say, well, when did it start happening, and then the debate start, because it's worth 2% of our revenue. There's
They are not trying to get revenue. They're trying to make their country lose less revenue from the breaches happening from vendors.
And ending the poll. This one was actually super interesting. It was tight, but Corey squeaked out with a 50% or 56% of folks agree that this will actually make meaningful change. And I have to give Corey the point on this one too. I think while it is going to cause chaos, Adam is correct that a lot of this is borders on unreasonable, and the early implementations and early companies trying to adapt to this, it's just going to cause more problems than it solves. I do think that even by just the end of next year, we'll start to see some of the benefits as companies are held accountable. Whether that is motivated by taking money out of Google's pockets and putting it into the European Union coffers, who knows? But I think fundamentally the prediction, Corey is correct, and this will have a meaningful impact. Maybe not as much of an impact as we want, but it will help. Awesome. Moving on to prediction number 4. Oh, fight, you already did. Autonomous artificial intelligence launches its first end-to-end cyber attack. So we've been seeing AI grow in its capabilities just dramatically over the last couple of years. Like when ChatGPT first came out, it was a fun, novel little way to interact with something that felt kind of like a human. And even in just the last 2.5, 3 years, its capabilities of OpenAI and then some of our agentic AI coding tools have just exploded. Where now you can plug them into other pieces of software using like Model Context Protocol, give them more capabilities, give them a purpose, and then unleash them to go accomplish that purpose in whatever way they see fit. Meanwhile, we've seen attackers start to use pieces of artificial intelligence over time to do various steps along the cyber kill chain to accomplishing an actual attack. So our prediction is someone will piece it together, start to finish, and launch fully autonomous attacks where a agentic AI model is responsible for every step along the way from start to finish. And I think, Corey, I believe you're first on this one.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges to this one. I'll start by just highlighting the summarizing. One, I think people don't realize how complex and different every internal network is. Two, AI is getting better at an exponential rate. It's definitely the fastest improving technology the world's seen, but it still gets stuck in hallucinations and logic loops, and it can make mistakes. And then there's also the simply cost versus reward. Sometimes a breach is very simple. AI models using AI can be computationally and financially expensive to use when you can still get very cheap exploit kits. So let me dive into each of those really quickly. Starting with networks are complicated. Like, yes, AI can help. Last year we had a prediction that multimodal AI and new models will supercharge every stage of the kill chain. I think everyone here agrees that whether it's reconnaissance, whether it's mapping people and who they connect with, whether it's doing the automatic scans to find weaknesses and then doing automatic coding to find 0 day in a particular thing exposed, to even when you're inside starting to scan internally, doing pivot, stuff like that, AI can do every single one of those stages. But when you think about the random network, it actually takes some pretty complex reasoning to adapt to unpredictable environments. The victims out there have EDR systems. They have our own MDR. There might be, web firewalls and all kinds of things. And sometimes it just needs the art of a human still to figure those out and evade those. Because if you don't do that, even though the agentic part of AI can start to connect those skilled stages together, but I think next year it's still going to be like a newborn donkey. It might be able to walk, but it's going to be tripping all along there. It's going to be very freaking noisy. And if you're an advanced attacker, you don't want that noise showing up because that's how the threat actor will catch you. Again, it also is wrong a significant amount of time. And when you're trying to, figure out a vulnerability, if your AI system is hallucinating and thinking that, oh, this service I found is this made-up server that doesn't exist, it spends all this time in some logic loop attacking something that doesn't exist because of a hallucination, that's kind of dumb. So I agree, technically, AI is starting to get not only the capability to, with still human interaction, really get every stage of the kill chain, and the agentic part connects it. I think it's going to take a few more years before we actually see that connection to be enough so that they can really, in a stealthy way, do an end-to-end attack.
My favorite part about this is listening to Corey and Adam make arguments about stuff that I know they actually
disagree with. By the way, hey everyone, there's a report from Anthropic that shows something like this already happened.
So as Corey just completely undermines his whole argument, Adam, off to you.
I mean, they let me out of the cage. They let me out of the back of the lab to go and talk to people about this for the last 4 years. This is not a boogeyman. This is not invisible. This is real. I think that there is a not so
All three of us gave the same talk, Adam.
Yeah, it's not a conspiracy that hyperscalers are downplaying the risks with their AI. the jailbreak risk that's very difficult to remove, the fact that they never seem to talk about labor arbitrage and their disruption to the labor market. They never have good explanations for the depths to which their software can generate all kinds of malicious content, whether it's code, whether it's a bomb recipe, whether it's all kinds of diseases they could 3D print in the future. This thing is not going to be something that the hyperscalers are going to clean up as an application. It can be misused. I believe it's actively being misused. I think Anthropic was one of the times we recognized that it was being misused, but I think they are downplaying tremendously the job that they are doing to build agentic reasoning and all these other components into the tool to make it a very effective doer of things. And unfortunately, that can be a very simple cyber attack that has been basically the same attack life cycle now for several years. Ransomware, extortion, we talk about it all the time. Data loss, credential theft. It's going to be perfecting this and doing it all the time in real time. And I think that if we go back to what it's going to take to see this, I think it's going to have to be acknowledgments, attribution that it was an all AI attack. I think we're finally starting to get companies like Anthropic maybe a little bit more honest than the other brokers in the field, letting you know that this happened. But OpenAI had a breach. How many of us have really talked about it? We're all using it. How many of us have talked about it? So these are organizations, by the way, with an unknown accounting firm that are privately traded, sitting there with no address somewhere in Silicon Valley. They are not held to the same standard when it comes to reviewing the source code, reviewing the
regulation.
And regulation. There's no regulation. So I believe this is actively happening now, not only going to happen in 2026, it has happened in 2025. I think it's happening right now. We are just not acknowledging it. We are not telling people about it. And I think it's dangerous.
Despite me unsteadily agreeing with you, I'm still going to be contrarian because I think we're over talk. This is purely autonomous. I think while this is happening, I think there's still little human interactions happening on the skill cage. Let me share. I think this is not a matter of if, but when. And normally I would say this is something I see happening in 5 years. AI scales faster. So I think the timeline to this might be 1 to 3 years. And here's the key thing it needs. I think it's still going to make enough mistakes and not be perfect enough to be purely autonomous, that what we need in the AI industry is AGI, the true realization of a final general intelligence. Yes, we're getting closer to agentic connecting multiple types of capabilities, but it still doesn't have that pure general intelligence you need. So while all of us, it's funny trying to be contrarian because we're preaching to the choir, we all agree that this is for sure and is already starting to happen with some human assistance. I really think to be purely autonomous, we need to get to AGI.
So it looks like the audience agrees with Adam and dark Corey, maybe light Corey on this one. I don't know. 91% believe that
this one was hard. We just got off the roadshow, man. We all gave that same presentation. We just did a podcast, Mark and I, on the whole Anthropic attack, and gave up that one of our predictions already came true.
Yeah, if it wasn't already clear, I'm gonna have to go with the non-contrary, the opponent for this one, Adam. I believe this is absolutely already hit and will continue to hit even more all throughout next year. Man, exciting. All right, prediction number 6 out of order.
Wrong slide. What happened? There we go.
There we go. So, prediction number 6, then we'll get to 5. AI literacy becomes a core cybersecurity skill. Or basically, over time, professionals will need to learn how to use new tools, or have had to learn how to use new tools as new technologies came into our industries, and AI is really going to be more of that going forward. I guess let's go ahead and kick it off for the debate on this one. And I believe, Adam, you're going first with why why people do not need AI.
Okay.
That's the hard one Adam gets.
You don't need any AI. Anybody who's met me, forget it.
AI literacy, sorry.
AI literacy. So I think we could probably recognize that we need it. It's whether or not it will actually happen, whether they will achieve mastery of a skill. I think if you look at some of the institutions we've learned from in cybersecurity, keep in mind how long it takes comp sci to get to cybersecurity courses, either in college or professional certificates. It took forever, right? To get to an actual like real curriculum that actually taught people how to hack, how to defend, right? Your SANS, your CEH, that took a while to get to market, right? And so if you look at, the concept of their release of an AI security course, not just how to hack a machine learning model, but to use AI in defense, right? Or to even react to, an AI type attack, right? Those courses are like 2024, right? So if I say, okay, well, the most likely people to take courses are probably like new graduates, young entrants to come into an organizations, right? The ones that we're not hiring right now, the ones that we're not investing in these corporations. So we're not getting, brand new, fresh talent with these wonderful certs that they got in 2024 and have developed some sort of AI level mastery and, frankly, the tactician of being a cybersecurity professional. So if we don't have the cohort, we have to go to the reskill. The reskill is the gray hairs. People like me, 5-10 years experience, worked in a SOC. They're going to go, this year is at training time. Maybe if their company's still investing in that, they'll go pick up a certification or a re-up to keep their credits with one of these new tools. And then they need time on field to practice, right? Mastery means you have to do this in production for real, right? And so, going to AWS and getting a certificate is great. If you never work with the product, you're going to be quite surprised at how much the drift is in production between what they say happens and what happens, right? So, the math here is I think we're just a little bit too early on the training. We haven't taken the young in, and that means that we're probably not going to see mastery in the field, probably because we probably won't see time on field with an AI adversary until the next couple quarters where they can really recognize what it is, or even start to sponsor the idea that we should go pay somebody to find out if that's even happening. So I think that that's probably a reasonable contrarian view of whether we'll see this in 2026, despite making it impossible to go contrarian and agree that we need this.
Good job. Good effort on a hard one. I would say, by the way, the prediction is not AI mastery, it's AI literacy. This is like a non-negotiable for cybersecurity. The reality is this prediction's late. If you already aren't playing with AI and understanding how it works, you have huge gaps in your network. And we're not saying they have to be the AI experts. In fact, I'm sure there will still be specific, generalists at organizations that are the AI expert. They need to have the literacy of it to understand how they can use it in defense and how it works. And I think almost every prediction we've talked about has had some AI in it. And we've kind of said, at this point, the future of cybersecurity is going to be a machine-to-machine war. Like we all know this because we gave the presentation. When the agentic AI full end-to-end automated attack happens, there's no human scale defense that can compete. You have to have AI. So it's just a required skill. We're already seeing it on like cybersecurity roles are talking about having AI capability. The World's Economic Forum for Future Jobs reports that AI and machine learning specialists are the fastest growing job. You absolutely need to know this. On top of that, you bring up other skills you really need for security, and that's true. I don't think AI skills overtake those other skills. But we've been in a cybersecurity skills brain gap forever. We can't hire enough cybersecurity professionals right now with the growth of cybersecurity that have just the basic cybersecurity knowledge to take the jobs we need. What does that mean? The ones that have the knowledge have to use AI to automate and scale themselves. It's the only way we're going to fill that talent gap we have in cybersecurity too. So again, if you take away the mastery and realize that, the final thing I guess I'd say is we all probably can agree the pace of AI technology has outpaced everything. If I were contrarian to this one, I would point out, what about IPv6 or DNSSEC? When that came out, the entire IT industry and cybersecurity folks, oh no, I have to go retrain IPv6. I better go do that. But no one did, right? Like you say, it is true that humans don't go and dive deep really quickly until necessary. But in this case, the IPv6 never really, it is finally happening in the background, but most internal networks are still mostly IPv4, so they didn't need to. With AI, they already need to. It's already happening. So that's going to push their need to get to literacy quickly.
Adam, you got 30 seconds to counter if you care.
My counter is that the literacy is what we said is an entry level bar. I don't think is going to be an entry level bar. I think when you're going to be code fighting somebody and trying to defeat an AI adversary with sort of AI based tools, and you're saying I'll go get like a basic level of literacy, I feel like it's got to go like basic literacy. Unfortunately, is a really high bar and will be a really high bar for what we're intending to do with it next year. So I feel like mastery still has to work its way in there. We're behind the 8 ball in terms of training and skilling and getting people invested in this. I don't even, if you talk to an organization, say how many people had a AI training workshop, right? How many of you had I think people try to put their head in the sand. They hate this technology because they think it's about losing jobs, right? And maybe they're right. But the idea is that the technical, reskilling towards this, most people are sort of averse, right? And in our industry, cyber skills are coveted already for what they are. So it's not like you're going to get a pay bump. So I'd say that the incentives aren't there to drive the right level of education next year.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Adam, but me and 93% of our participants think that you're wrong.
Don't worry. Same happened to me many times during this call, Adam. We both get to feel the...
I think Corey put it perfectly on this. If you aren't already building AI literacy, if you don't already have it, like you're already way behind in the world of cybersecurity, considering all of your coworkers are probably using it in some capacity. You need to be capable of both securing it and deploying it yourself in order to defend against the threats that we're seeing. So fight and lost by Adam, unfortunately. Moving on, got just enough time for prediction number 5. And this is zero trust network access or zero trust access emerges as traditional VPNs collapse. So the trend for this one is traditional virtual private networks or VPN endpoints have been under siege for years now. Attackers are attempting to brute force their way in by guessing or credential stuffing credentials into ones not protected by MFA. They're attempting to find and exploit vulnerabilities on exposed services. And they're becoming a major risk point for organizations that still need to provide some form of secure access to internal or private resources. And so as attackers continue to go after these exposed services, organizations are going to fundamentally shift to a more secure method for remotely accessing private resources, which is ZTNA. So our prediction is SMBs will begin to operationalize ZTNA tools finally. So for this, I think, Corey, you're the first one to go.
Yeah.
Please tell me why
WatchGuard has
that you agree with.
Yeah, I totally agree. I disagree with this completely. But by the way, WatchGuard's released FireCloud Total Access Security, which includes a great ZTNA solution called Private Access. I really think you should use it. But no, I don't agree at all. I do not agree, Mark. This really, nope. And let me tell you why. So we can agree that VPN is targeted and ZTNA has some better security. Like with VPN, I worry about vulnerabilities that are being exploited. I worry most about that most VPNs tend to just start with the open policy of once you get in, everything is into a flat network. There's no policy, there's no zero trust, whatever. And I also think that it also has to be exposed publicly on the internet for that gateway. And it's a gateway that customers often control. So unless you're, that public exposure adds some risk that you could put somewhere else. But that being said, I'm cynical about human nature. And I'm going to really make the crowd go against me. All you guys out there that are servicing IT folks, if it ain't broke, it don't fix it. We get lazy in our easy ways to do something. Yes, to do ZTNA, you might have to re-architect remote access a little bit, but it's working. I have all these fires. I don't want to learn a new thing. So, while ZTNA is great, and I think every cybersecurity expert agrees, we also think patching is important, and we know people don't do it. So it's going to take people a while to get there is what I'm getting to. It also has maybe different cost models, right? It's more user-based subscriptions. And if there's a tight economy, you might want to go with the VPN you already have, then add something new. I also think that VPN might not just sit on its hands and knees and wait to be kicked off the cliff. As I was watching networking change to SASE, I saw a lot of SSL VPN vendors, which is a traditional VPN, kind of start to go the SSE route and kind of claim ZTNA-ish. So really what's going to happen is a blurring between the lines of VPN and ZTNA. I mean, when it comes down to it, anyone that sells products knows that technology is sticky when you use it a lot. So once it's put in, it can be hard to change if you don't do it right. The final thing is, again, I want you guys to do it, but this is my cynical nature of whenever there's a little work to be done to get better security, people are too lazy. Zero trust takes effort. The reason everyone uses that VPN with the any policy is to set up the ZTNA, you actually have to think about your applications. You actually have to create private user resources for groups, and you actually have to limit privilege, which I want you to do, but I don't think people do it very often. They press the easy button, they throw a network appliance in a rack, and they never look at it for 4 years, and it has uptime, hasn't been patched for all that time, and probably has tons of alerts that were completely ignored.
Something tells me Corey's.
I wonder if the audience is going to turn on me.
They wanted real
2 minutes to counter.
They wanted real dark Corey. We gave him this soft pedaled, not real dark Corey. This isn't even light gray Corey. Okay, you can do. Okay, we'll have a beer.
I'm trolling.
Okay, so all right, so okay, ZTNA, obviously we've been preaching this forever. If you can reach it, you can reach it. There's a million different fun slogans out there for, you can scan a network, find one of these IPs and go and hack the SSL VPN in a million different ways. Vendors are finding out the hard way. I'm talking to you, Sonic Wall, that if you mess up with customers on SSL VPN, that they're probably going to migrate away from your product. But it does remind me of that scene in Back to the Future where they turn to Biff and he goes, "McFly, you sold me a car with a blind spot." This is a structural problem that affects everybody. This is not something that is just a small bug or some stupid thing that you can overwrite with code, right? If we could, we would, right? Everybody would. So the idea behind ZTNA is that it is a new architecture. It has to happen, or you're going to get hacked out of existence anyway with this architecture. So it's probably important that you migrate to the new safe way to do things.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I started the poll too early last time, and so we only got a single vote. And instead, I'm just going to have to vote for whoever I think is correct on this one. And I think Corey's better half would also fundamentally agree that this prediction is probably correct. And
Check out
probably going to happen.
Firecloud Total Access.
You should go check out FireCloud Total Access. So that does put us at, I think, because of that first prediction saying extinct and not just about extinct, Adam came away with a 4-2 victory on this one.
Oh no! Boo! Boo.
But the reality is, we all win on this.
Do I get a belt?
That was fun. Man, we should do this again. We do have about 1 minute and 30 seconds. I've been monitoring the chat and questions. No questions so far, but a lot of just comments, fundamentally agreeing with just about everything we were saying in terms of the predictions. If you do have any questions, you can toss them in now. If you have other predictions that you want to make, by the way, please throw them in chat or reach out to us on social media, or I'm sure you can dig up our emails. Corey and I still owe you all a community-powered predictions podcast at some point this year. But
give us predictions so we can do it. We're waiting, man.
Yeah. But with that said, I've not seen any questions. Just some appreciation. And I think we'll go ahead and end with another quick plug for our podcast, the 443 Security Simplified. If you want to hear even more cynical views and sassy back and forth commentary, please be sure to check that out. And thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day for this. Hope you found it fun. And
did you actually use sassy as the real term and not the stupid acronym?
I sure did.
We're so sassy. Can you do this? I'm sassy. I'm sassy Mark.
3 S's.
Oh my God. Thank you, Corey, and thank you, Adam, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.